Hi, hey, hello, howdy. It is me, Kore Kawore, back at it again because even a power outage can't stop me from the grind. It is currently 8 p.m. the day before I'm supposed to upload, so we are just gonna get right into it. This week I am going to be designing original characters for fandoms that I am not in. I figured that this would be an interesting challenge because it would make me think about stuff that I don't actually know all that much about. And typically when I'm making OCs, I like to be insane about the worlds in which they exist. So for this, I chose two media properties that I'm not an active fan of, but I do know at least a little bit about. It was originally going to be three, but I, quite honestly, have too much to do with midterms, so maybe it'll happen in the future, maybe not. Let's get right into it. The first character that I designed is a My Hero Academia OC named Shin Onigawara. Now, this name is two references in one, and this character, just gonna put it out there, uses it, its, they, them, and he, him pronouns, so feel free to use any interchangeably. Now, he is my silly little guy. I had a lot of fun with this one. I am not an active fan of My Hero Academia, but I do know a fair bit about it, I would say. I don't know too much about the main plot, but I know a bit about the world. I know that there's 3 types of quirk categorization, and I'm sorry, I'm just not that big of a shonen person. So My Hero Academia has the right ingredients, it's just the wrong genre for me. I am so sorry to all the My Hero Academia fans out there, but I had a lot of fun with this. I have a lot of fun thinking about silly powers that my characters can have, and so being able to actually work within a well-established power system is super, super fun for me. Now, Shin is what's the type? Emitter type quirk, I believe. Has an emitter type quirk that I have dubbed You Can, You Up. This is an anglicization, I believe, of Chinese net slang, with the full phrase being you can, you up, no can, no BB. This might be a little bit of an older phrase, I only know it from a novel. But the phrase in a nutshell means if you think you can do better, then do better, and if you can't, then shut up. And I thought that that was so entertaining. I love that phrase, it's so silly. And so what Shin's quirk does is that it basically lets it see statistics, calculate statistics more quickly to specifically predict likely outcomes. So if you've seen Vintage 8, the Oracle project, think a little bit like Oracle. Not quite that level of super, super advanced computing, but able to take in observations about the world around them much quicker than the average person, calculate likely outcomes and probabilities, and then communicate that with their team. So they would very much be a backline, not even a fighter really, just a person that hangs out, keeps an eye on the battlefield, and tells people where to go. Oh my gosh, I have the hiccups. I had like I'm on my 4th Pepsi because I need the caffeine. The caffeine is just making me sleepy, so I'm very sorry if I'm rambling or talking way faster than normal. I'm trying to get this done before I fall asleep. Now, Shin's civilian clothes are very, very casual. I feel like it always looks like it forgot to do the laundry that week, and I was joking about this with my friends when I was designing it. I just had a lot of fun. I think that it deserves a very silly casual outfit. Its hero outfit is much less covering, isn't really the right word. It's a very practical outfit. There's lots of pockets, there's a mask to amplify their voice so they can communicate more effectively with the team, there's speakers in the form of cat ears because I mean I had to. Legally I had to. Speakers in the form of cat ears that both take in and amplify sound as well. And the eye patch, which would normally cover its left eye, which holds the interface that its quirk manifests as, is switched over to the right so that interface is up all the time. The eye patch serves to minimize sensory overload and cut down on the number of stimuli that Shin has to process at any given moment, and I feel like that would just prevent migraines, which I came up with as a drawback for using its quirk too much, because I know that's a thing too. Feel free to educate me more about My Hero Academia in the comments, because I am seriously winging it here. I also gave it a lot of pockets because it would be able to store various bits and bobs, you know, able to construct traps in the moment, able to protect itself more effectively, probably hides a couple knives in there. I feel like it would probably have a permit to use a gun, because I know that's a thing you need a permit for, I think. And I'm pretty sure, I don't actually know if that's canon to My Hero Academia. Never mind, I'm not going off about Japanese gun law. Now, what are the references in its name and its quirk, you may be asking? This is a fun one for me. So let's start with the last name because that's very simple. Onigawara comes from Misao, which is a very good game. I highly recommend to look up the trigger warnings if you decide to give it a shot. Very good game though, I really like it. But Onigawara in that game is a character that is able to travel between the dimensions and, well, implied to be able to travel between dimensions. It's a little complicated. I mostly chose Onigawara to play off of the reference contained within the first name and the quirk name. Now, those references go together. They are both a reference to a novel that I personally really like. It's a little bit weird, it's not for everyone, but the novel is called The Scum Villain's Self-Saving System. And the basic premise is a guy reads a novel that he does not like, reads a web novel that he does not like, and gets reincarnated as one of the villains of the novel, and basically gets told by the universe, but more specifically, essentially evil sarii in his brain, hey, if you think you can do better, I'd like to see you try. So that is where You Can, You Up comes from. And also where Shin comes from, because the character used, which you can see here in the speed paint, that I used to write Shin can also be read as Kami, but can be read in Mandarin as Shen, which is the surname of both the character that goes into the novel and the character that he becomes within the novel. So I just thought that that was a fun little linguistic pun. I love getting to do stuff like this. I have an Ace Attorney character that I'm cooking up for a future video, and I had so much fun naming them. I love giving names meaning and silly little references. But I had a lot of fun designing Shin. I love drawing people. I love drawing pretty boys, and they don't quite count, I don't think, because they kind of look like a strange little guy, but you know, I had fun. I think that they're very silly. Now on to the next one. This is Rihanna Ayuna, and she is an OC for a manga that I have owned for quite a while, called Magical Girl Site. And I'm sure anyone who's heard of it just recoiled a little bit. It is not very good. And really, the reason why I wanted to include it in this video is I am fascinated, quite honestly, by what was going through the author's mind, the creator's mind, because I've read some of his other works as well. And, well, I say some of his other works. I've read Magical Girl Apocalypse as well. And I am just quite frankly fascinated by this creator. What I would give to interview him. I think that this world was created by a very cynical person with some very cynical views on humanity. And so I thought that it would be interesting to try and create someone that sees light and sees hope in such a dark world. Now, I know that the prerequisites... Let me explain Magical Girl Site. Magical Girl Site is a magical girl anime and manga about girls that have given up on life and are granted items called sticks that imbue them with powers at the cost of using up some of their lifespan. That's the short version of it. It gets really complicated later. Of course they fight God. But it is a world that is so heavily tinged with cynicism, as I mentioned earlier. I mean, you have to have given up on life in order to receive your powers within this world. And I thought that it would be interesting to create a character who had at one point given up on life, and was noticed too late by the system. Like, she was noticed after someone came into her life that would have saved it. I didn't design this other person. I have some thoughts in mind, but not that many. But she is, at this point in her story, a very bright, happy-go-lucky girl. She has experienced hardship and trauma in the past, but she has found someone to connect to, and through her connection with them has become happier with herself and become happier with the world. So she would absolutely use her stick as little as possible. I gave her a stick that looked like a rhythmic is it rhythmic gymnastics? I think it's rhythmic gymnastics ribbon. And she would have the ability to essentially create waves with, the shape of the ribbon. I think is how I want to implement that. But I thought that it was interesting trying to just figure out what her relationship to her magic would be, because she would feel some sort of obligation to use it. I mean, there are creatures within this world that would have to be fought against. She may even seek out other magical girls and try and convince them that, they don't have to use their sticks, they don't have to give up on life entirely, because things can get better for anyone. And I don't know how much grace she would have in sharing her beliefs. I love creating characters that are flawed, and I think that it's interesting to give a character who is so happy such an obvious flaw, because her rationale would be, I was where you are now at one point, and I got better, so therefore you can get better too. And while I think that that's a generally good message, she would be quite forceful about it. I feel like, not your typical Genki girl, but very much, loud, let's say. Very impassioned. And I feel like she may alienate certain people as a result, but she would still try her best and would try to create a group of magical girls that keep hold of their sticks to prevent them from falling into the hands of anyone else, but that don't use their sticks unless absolutely necessary. I had a lot of fun drawing her though. I love her. She's my silly little dog girl. It doesn't come across super well on this drawing, but her pigtails are supposed to look like big floppy Cocker Spaniel ears, and I love her so much. She's so silly. I hope that you guys enjoyed. I am sorry that it's a bit of a shorter video this week, but I am on such a time crunch. Midterms are absolutely just crushing me right now, so I will hopefully see you guys next week. Oh my gosh, you can hear my voice is giving out. I hope that you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you did, and I will see you guys next week. Bye bye!